My name is Deanne Steffen, and my speculative design project is Suncorp-Brisbane Citycoolers. In this project, we've reached the year 2070, and we haven't done nearly enough to combat climate change, unfortunately. Worlds continue to believe in consumerism and the growth economy, leading to 4 degrees of increased global temperature. I've hyperbolized the concept of consumer culture and the wealth gap to create a dystopian future of Brisbane. In this future, all of the states in Australia are renamed to the companies that essentially control them. So Brisbane has become Suncorp-Brisbane. By 2070, the majority of Australia has become an uninhabitable fireball. For safety, most people have ended up moving into cities for the infrastructure, and they live in high-density apartment complexes. Heat waves are a huge problem. Temperatures reaching up to 35 or 40 degrees quite regularly, and the air quality is really poor. We now have sophisticated personal cooling technology, but the technology is still inaccessible to low-income earners, which is a huge problem. So in my future world, the COVID wealth transfer, so where millions lost jobs, but the rich got richer, doesn't improve. In fact, it gets a lot worse. So there's no longer a middle class, just the upper class, who I call mega consumerists, and the lower class. So the mega consumerists, they have access to all kinds of technology to make their lives comfortable. They've got reflective clothing, designer cooling suits and helmets, self-driving cars, etc. The lower class are working 5-6 days a week, can still barely afford rent, let alone their own safety equipment or cars. They're also living in tiny apartments with small living spaces, and they're having to share with 6+ people just to be able to afford. So because of this, because they can't afford their own safety equipment, Suncorp-Brisbane provides a free service to the city called Citycoolers. So they're cooling vests and oxygen helmets that are free for use. However, they are completely plastered with advertisements. So the advertisements are holographic, so they jump out, they move, they even speak. And the trouble with the Citycooler scheme is that Suncorp-Brisbane doesn't really care about the lower class citizens. They just care about money. So the suits are often out of repair or unavailable. And it just further emphasizes the class divide because it's unsafe and it limits the autonomy of citizens who can't afford their own suits and helmets. So you need to get to work. There's a heat wave on, it's 40 degrees. Maybe you're a bit elderly, a bit more, or you have pre-existing medical condition. You get there, you know you need this thing, or it's a high pollutant day. You get there and you try one, broken. Or you try another, you go to try another one, but there's none left. There's no more available in your area. So there's lots of issues with it. So the suits are also one size fits all. So it means that, and they are designed by averages, average ergonomics. And by averages, I mean average white male. So if you're larger or smaller, a child, a woman, physical disability, you're left out. So you're not supposed to enjoy the design of the suits whatsoever. They're quite ugly, quite gaudy. Honestly, it would be pretty humiliating to wear, and that makes sense because basically the purpose of the suits is to use the lower class citizens as human billboards, so to advertise products and services to the mega consumerists. So I wanted that to be a very literal metaphor for the way that inequality in power uses human bodies. So the purpose of the spec design overall is to provoke thought on 2 issues, namely climate change and the state of design today. So these issues can be quite interrelated. The choice of cooling technology is to intentionally provoke the viewer to ask, why would we need these and how did we get here? My answer to that question, the critique found in the spec design, is out of greed, modernist viewpoints, and consumer culture. That's why I chose to have the suits covered in advertisements and the city's renamed companies, because that appears to be what our society values today. It's a warning against what could happen if we continue this way. So everything we design has a consequence, not just a consequence, but a string of never-ending consequences. Each item creates a world, and each item is imbued with the intention of its creator. In this case, the creators believe that a white male constitutes the average and no other story is worth telling. They also believe in consumer and growth culture. Over 70% of greenhouse gases come from big business, not individuals. But we also have a responsibility to play in the demand for manufactured consumer goods and waste. If we want to create a world that is safe for everyone, we need to acknowledge our power as designers. We need to know what our values are, and we need to know we can say no to creating things and putting negative intentions into the physical world. All of these ideas are heavily expanded upon in my written speculative design, but the thing I'd like to emphasize is asking ourselves what we really need. If we do need these things, how can we create them in a way that isn't harmful to us, our world, and other living creatures? Because I do believe that we are intelligent and empathetic enough to achieve this and to undo what we've done so far. Thank you.